Hi, I'm Jenny Thomas. I'm co-producing Femtech TV with Catherine, the founder of Femtech Insider. I'm the director of Digital Health London. We help health tech companies to scale, particularly in the NHS. We also support NHS staff with digital transformation projects, and we do a lot of work in evidence generation for digital health, bringing together academia and industry. But my personal passion within digital health is Femtech. I really believe that healthier women lead to healthier families, healthier societies. And so I'm on a bit of a mission to talk to people who are doing great work in this space, particularly in the UK, listening to entrepreneurs, people within the NHS, people within corporates who really want to make some of this change happen. So today I'm joined by Mridula Pore, who is the founder and CEO of Peppy Health. I'm particularly excited to talk to Mridula because Peppy Health are on the 5th accelerator cohort of Digital Health London. We kicked off in November, so we've actually been working together the past few weeks, and I know how much great work they're doing, particularly in the NHS. And I'm really looking forward to sharing some of that with you today. So thank you for joining me, Mridula. Welcome. It would be fantastic perhaps if we could just start, if you could say a little bit about yourself and a bit about Peppy Health and how you came to create the company.
Great. Well, thank you, Jenny, for having me. Great to be here. So my name's Mridula. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Peppy. We're actually 3 co-founders. So I founded Peppy in 2018 with Evan Harris and Max Landry. Both had worked previously at another digital health startup. But my journey to Peppy, I mean, I guess it started young in a lot of ways. I'm a child of the NHS. My parents were both doctors. At 16, I guess, I declared I'm not going to medical school. I'm not going to study till I'm 40, and then do an engineering PhD in pharmaceutical manufacturing, found myself back in the world of healthcare and I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. So along the way, I spent some time at McKinsey in the healthcare practice in London, helping the NHS from a policy point of view, regulatory point of view, helping healthcare systems redesign healthcare services to make them financially, operationally, clinically sustainable. And then also at Novartis Group, I was a business unit head working on generic pharmaceuticals, getting them distributed into pharmacies. So your high street pharmacies, wholesalers, big chains, family-owned shops, the whole bunch. But really, where my passion lies is in making healthcare more accessible and affordable. Globally, we have a crisis. We have aging workforce, aging population. We have a healthcare workforce crisis. And for me, digital has to be the solution for that, and that creates huge opportunities for good and huge opportunities for organizations and new technology to flourish as well. So we founded Peppy in 2018, and Peppy's based on the premise that basically all of us will have multiple periods in our lives, episodes where our health is vulnerable. Physically, mentally, emotionally, our health is vulnerable, and these are natural, quote unquote natural, very common occurrences, like becoming a parent, like a woman going through the menopause, like someone or a couple trying to conceive. But there are so many other times where you can think of this, where, if you were to go to a medical doctor, am I ill? You're not ill, right? You don't need the care of a clinical team. You don't need a diagnosis, but you do need a lot of support to look after yourself and your family, as you mentioned. I mean, we are very much, we are Femtech, but we are also a family healthcare company. And that can really make a huge difference to people's lives. It can make a difference to how they feel within themselves. It can make a difference to their relationships with their other people in their household. It can make a difference to their relationships at work, their ability to be at work, to be engaged, productive, and just to be, how they feel as an individual and as a member of society.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, I think for me personally, becoming a mom and going through that transition, and it has such an impact on your life. I mean, it's incredibly joyful, but whether that's adapting to kind of new sleep patterns, for example, I mean, it just stays with you, and it's I think when you start talking to other people, it's one of those things that perhaps people don't talk enough about sometimes. Maybe they talk to other mums, but actually there's a huge amount of support that I think people would benefit from having. I certainly know I would have done. So I really feel like that the product speaks to me personally.
Well, that's exactly it, right? Because these are transitionary episodes, right? So you don't necessarily haven't thought too much about what that really means for you.
Yeah, because you don't know until you're in the situation.
You don't know, exactly. This is what we're finding is the common theme. You don't know what you don't know until you're in the situation. And so what you need is a source of trusted advice and support and trusted information so that you can make the right decision for you and your family, because these are also intensely emotional and personal stages in people's lives, and people's family setups are different, their living situation is different, you know, all the whatever pressures on them. So they do need to be, you know, the personalization aspect of it is really important. And that's why at Peppy, what we do is we connect people to expert practitioners in different ways so people can get information and their questions answered in the way that's right for them. But ultimately, you know, we help them be the pilot of their health journey.
And I think that's really great because, you know, you can spend, for example, in the kind of becoming a new parent space, you can spend a huge amount of time researching, and always comes, you know, becoming a parent becomes a research project. But actually, if you can short circuit some of that and help people, you know, lots of different types of people to be able to get that support when they really need it, I think that's so powerful. So it'd be great to hear a bit about, you know, what are you most proud of? You know, I love some of the stuff that you do with the Tech Force 19 kind of project. So perhaps we could talk a bit about that, but also anything else that you really feel proud about.
Sure. So, I mean, we have two sort of streams of work. Obviously, there's the work we've done with the NHS, which has been funded by the Tech Force 19 initiative. So that's the UK cross-governmental initiative to support vulnerable populations in the community during lockdown and obviously continued lockdown and beyond, also for future pandemic preparation. So we were really, really lucky and really grateful to have that opportunity. It was a very competitive process. So we were one of the 18 who got out of the 1,600 applications in the first wave, and then we're now one of the 2 who've had second wave funding as well. So as part of that, what we did in the first lockdown in the UK, so around April time, were 2 weeks, we supported over 1,000 parents, mums, dads, non-gender conforming parents across England. And they were either in their last trimester of pregnancy or had a baby up to a year old. And so we were able to provide them with the Peppy service, which involves chat with expert practitioners, chat with mental health practitioners, group calls, one-to-one calls around topics like feeding and sleep, webinars around looking after your mental health, or you know, recognizing signs of birth trauma, or thinking about going back to work for those people who it might be relevant to. Sort of a wide range of topics, some very, very much focused on, you know, physical health, like postnatal recovery, for example, and some, you know, much more about sort of managing your life more holistically, like getting back into work. And we were incredibly proud of being able to execute fast. We got the message that we were successful and we had to launch within 10 days. The demand out there was overwhelming. We had 10,000 people apply for.
I mean, that is just such an amazing step.
We kicked off the recruitment on Friday afternoon. By Monday morning, we had 10,000 applications in the inbox.
That's incredible.
Which was amazing. And then, you know, we went live within 24 hours after that. It was just fantastic. But, you know, ultimately, it was the feedback that we then got from the participants. They were incredibly grateful to get the service. We had 85% response rate on our end of trial survey, which is unheard, you know, sky high. And they told us lots of things. They told us that they felt Peppy enabled them to feel a lot less isolated. They felt a lot more confident about knowing where to seek care when they needed it. A lot of reassurance, support, and as you say, sort of not knowing what I don't know, having somewhere to turn to, especially at that particular point in time, and which was very stressful for everybody, but particularly if you're in that situation. And then we were also able to get real evidence of results of Peppy. So we looked at people's mental well-being using the short Warwick Mental Wellbeing Scale, which is a very well-recognized scale, and before and after the 2 weeks. So at the start of the program, we had about 1/3 of people who were in the normal to moderate mental well-being range, and 2/3 who were below that in a sort of spectrum where there could be possible signs of anxiety and depression. 2 weeks later, that proportion had flipped. So we had 2/3 now in the normal to moderate well-being range, and just 1/3 below, which was just huge. Signal. And obviously a lot of things then flow on from that mental well-being, as you can imagine: parent-infant bonding, relationships status, how relationship health, and so many other things. The second thing that we found was we asked them how Peppy changed their health-seeking behavior. So were we able to, we encourage you to seek care from statutory services, so be that your GP, urgent care, midwife, health visitor, sooner than you otherwise might have, or you might have been reluctant to do so. So the answer was yes, and that was good, because what we don't want to do, we are keen to make sure that if people do need help or do need assessment, that we get them to the right place as soon as we can. And we did have a couple of instances where babies weren't thriving, and we directed the parents to go to urgent care. But we also then asked them, were there instances where you would otherwise have gone to seek support? Statutory services, and Peppy was able to address the concerns that you had? And the answer to that was also yes, in a much higher volume. So where people were looking for clarifications, information, reassurance on what was normal, what was not normal, Peppy was able to address and hold those people, but also identify those who needed support soon. Net, that represents a saving. I mean, we extrapolated it out to the whole England population. If we did this on an annual basis, that would represent a £300 million saving to NHS within England alone. So what we showed with that is Peppy has real potential to be essentially the sort of population health level risk stratification tool.
It's a very powerful filter that kind of genuinely helps people, but make sure that they're, helped in the way that they need to be helped at the time.
Exactly, because ultimately, you don't have to have anything wrong to be on Peppy. It's designed to be a universal service. It's there for you when you need it, but you may not need it right now, and that's absolutely fine. It's just about knowing that it's there, being able to access the right people and the right information at the time where you do.
And what I also loved was how you, in terms of kind of the access bit of the service. I mean, I feel incredibly fortunate that I was able to afford to join the NCT and to have a group, of other parents who I could rely on at, 3 a.m. in the morning or whatever it was, whatever time it was. But, that's the service that you have to pay for. And and as you said, there are these kind of transitionary times where actually, everyone needs that, and it shouldn't just be because you can't afford it.
Exactly. Yeah, and we're partners with the NCT, and they worked with us very closely on that project to help us get the word out and make sure in any case we work with them very very closely. So so we were able to, about 60% of the population that we served were in lower income households. We had double the national average of Black, Asian and ethnic minority parents on there who have, historically had and continue to have worse maternal outcomes than white parents. So it was really important for us to be able to do that. But again, I think this is an issue of, access, convenience, because it's sometimes not just that people don't want to get there, they might not be able to get there. Or they, they might have other pressures on their time which prevent them from maybe accessing the care that they need. With Peppy, it can be as simple as, you WhatsApp your best friend and you send a message to your Peppy practitioner. That equally easy things to do. You can do it in the 5 minutes, maybe you're patting your baby with one hand and, texting with another. Not that we'd recommend that, but it's, it means that we're bringing barriers.
By the way.
I have been guilty of doing that. But, basically what we're trying to do is bring those barriers right down for people to be able to ask the questions that they need and be able to get the support that they need. but it's also really important for us in what we do in our other work. So we do work with employers as well. And you asked me which ones are the proudest of. And some of the ones that we've launched recently was Santander for Menopause, Aviva, and Wix. The hardware shop have recently gone live with Peppy Baby. And the reason we're particularly
I was fascinated by that. It's just not what maybe I would have expected. It's just wonderful.
Well, this is the thing. You know, we're working with organisations, and we're working with whole organisations. So it doesn't matter if you are a cashier at the till at Wix, or whether you're doing a corporate role. You have access to Peppy Baby. Same thing with Santander. You might be working in a retail branch, you might be in a call centre, or you might be, you know, an op centre, or, you know, everybody has access to these services. And that's, I think, one of the things as Peppy we're incredibly proud of. And I mean, obviously some of our first clients who believed in us at the beginning as well. But, you know, now we're starting to see it sort of, our goals come to fruition.
Absolutely. And it really challenges other employers to think, well, if they're doing it, you know, why am I not doing it? I think it's a great way to get the service out there kind of on multiple fronts at the same time. So no, that's fascinating. Thank you. What would be really interesting is to get your take on the femtech scene in London and the UK. I know what you've said in, you know, the past that you're, you know, in some ways you are a femtech company, but in, you know, another way, you know, you're really a company for families, and it's about those life transitions. But what do you think, like, is good? What do you think is needed? How could there be more, you know, support and really kind of ways to encourage this this ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, we do work in disproportionately life events affect women, right? In general, for the family, they will, as we've seen again during the pandemic. But you know, I think one of the amazing things about London, UK femtech scene is that there is a real scene. There are a plethora of people doing really exciting work. A lot of people who are deeply passionate about the space and either sort of working directly in it, founding their own companies, working in companies, or, you know, people like you, Jenny, who are supporting us and helping us on the way. And that's amazing because you don't feel like you are, you know, banging a drum alone, right? So it's very, very encouraging. And, you know, you've got lots of other people to sort of see what's going on, you know, see what people are talking about, see what people are thinking about. And it feels like we're getting good critical mass in the UK and in London specifically, I guess, which is where I'm based. I think what we could be doing is growing more is the coordination a bit. So, I mean, having organizations like Femtech Insider is huge. You know, because it means that there is a channel for news, channel for seeing, you know, who's doing what, who's around, and bring that to attention, which is amazing. But also, you know, it's starting to feel like that there might be some areas where we should be talking together or talking collectively. Particularly with a lot of the discussions around, you know, maybe gender identity or funding, you know, for femtech, that there is an opportunity there for us to present maybe more of a stronger collective voice. And this is why, you know, I really loved what Catherine has been doing in Femtech, and now, you know, you're working with her, because it does give us a bit of a platform for that collective voice.
Yeah, no, really interesting. Thank you. So what piece of advice would you give to other entrepreneurs that perhaps are kind of earlier on in their journey than you are now, maybe who do, you know, regularly read Femtech Insider, or indeed someone that's just thinking, you know, I'm really passionate about Femtech. It really kind of talks to me personally. You know, how could I get, you know, involved in that space? How could I shape my career in that area? Do you have any tips? or
Yeah,
recommend?
well, number one, come and talk to us because we are growing.
Good one.
That would be great. But no, serious. I mean, if you are thinking about, well, that is also equally serious. But number two, if you are thinking of setting up your own Femtech company or organization, I think Femtech is quite a broad term, and it has very specific implications for your business or your organization, depending on where you're choosing to operate. If you are a product-focused company, that comes with certain funding and other requirements, timelines around that. If you are much more a user-centered company or service-centered company, think really carefully about what it is you're doing. Are you a healthcare company that operates in Femtech, which is what we are? And the collaboration with Digital Health London and the NHS and so on? Or are you really serving a consumer and consumer buying behaviors? Because that is a very different company. The product and the service might have a lot of similarities, but what that means for you as a CEO or a founder, for the kind of investment that you're likely to need, where you're going to be spending that investment, the kind of team members that you might want to bring on board very early on, looks very, very different. So I think there are some very early decisions to be made, and there's a lot of, like I said, Femtech covers a very wide umbrella of things. So think carefully about where it is that plays to your strengths and where you want to be.
So really get that focus right. It sounds like you're almost talking from kind of experience. Is that something that you kind of work through in the early days yourself?
Yeah. I mean, so my experience is in healthcare, very specifically working in regulated markets. That's what I know, and in B2B. That's so the Peppy model plays to what me and Evan as well has a background in this. It plays to our strengths, and we made a very conscious choice not to go direct to consumers for both strategic reasons, but also that's not what we do. We don't know how to do that. We could bring on, but if we wanted to, we should have brought on somebody who does know how to do that and is excellent in that space. So yes, I think it does somewhat come from personal experience and product. Just being an engineer by background, that's a whole different ballgame. You're talking about the years of product development, the R&D costs, the investment that needs to go into for a long period of time before you're ready to launch something and then actually start to see the revenue coming in. So again, you need to find the people who buy into that product vision and are willing to sort of fund you for the long run, and the team who know that that's the game you're in. Otherwise it can feel like an incredibly hard slog.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes a huge amount of sense. So then I guess what's next? What's next for you and for Peppy Health?
Well, we're really excited because we are in the second phase of the Tech Force project. So we've been working with the clinical teams at Greater Manchester and Eastern Cheshire now for a couple of months, but working with NHS and NHS England and Improvement for several months now in the planning of this project. It's going to be evaluated by Professor Amy Brown from Swansea University, supported by Andrew Mayers from Bournemouth University. So this is a very exciting project for us to see whether Peppy can actually operate within the ecosystem of the other existing statutory services. Of course, we have been doing because, but more in a much more tangible way now. We're having those conversations, knowing who the people are, knowing what the local referral pathways are, safeguarding all of these sorts of issues. So that's super exciting, and of course continuing on with our work with various employers across the UK and hopefully beyond. And we've recently also launched our fertility service, so trying to support who are trying to conceive, whether assisted or unassisted, and that's led by Francesca Stein, who is the incoming chair of the fertility network for the Royal College of Nursing. So it's been great having Francesca join the team and now being able to serve, another segment of people who, again, have had a really tough year, had a really tough year with everything.
Absolutely, so tough.
Yeah. So so it's been a busy year, and another
it's such a busy year for you.
Another one to come, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely certain of it, absolutely certain. No, that's fab. Really, really good to hear. Do you have anything else, any other thoughts on Femtech more generally in terms of what's next? Kind of, you spoke earlier about kind of the investment piece, and that would be really useful. Do you kind of have a view on how things are going to kind of shape up in the next couple of years?
I think it's going to be a really exciting space, and not just from the startup side of things. I mean, we're now starting to see more and more people realize, I think it's going to be also very interesting from an R&D point of view, whether that's R&D from a clinical point of view, from a tech point of view. We've learned a lot, I think, as a society about some of the inherent biases on where research funding gets directed, and that plays out into where does the research and evidence base stand today. So I think it's been fantastic to see, even in the short time that Peppy's been in existence, how much momentum has gathered behind women's health more generally. And I'm really looking forward to, I think it's going to be an exciting next 5 to 10 years ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think you're right, leading the front, which is great. So thank you so much. It's not really goodbye, because obviously we're going to be working together over the course of next year, which is great. But thank you for your time today, and I really hope that, I'm sure it was fascinating for everyone that was listening. So thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Always a pleasure. Take care.